Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the Great Debate from Eagle Eye TV. I'm Charles Necrelli, your host for the evening. Tonight marks the second political debate held on Auburn University's campus as we prepare for the upcoming presidential election. And you will hear from three of Auburn's core political groups as they debate current topics surrounding our campus and country today. Prior to this evening, each organization submitted a question concerning one of our three topics: campus carry, college affordability, and sexual assault. Our moderators then created a question of their own to total 4 questions per topic. The organization to which the question belongs will have 2 minutes to answer, and the following groups will have a 1-minute response with concluding remarks made by the original group for 30 seconds. This will create a total of 12 questions to be debated. Our three political groups this evening are the College Democrats, represented by Emily Hale and Nima Ashu, the College Republicans, represented by Brandon Belser and Jake Baker, and the Young Americans for Liberty, represented by Troy Beckham and Daniel Bond. Your moderators for the evening are Evan Blank, Taylor Harrison, and Chip Brownlee. Evan and Taylor come from Eagle Eye TV, and Chip from the Auburn Plainsman. At the conclusion of our debate, the moderators will open the floor to audience questions in which each group will have 1 minute to answer. We ask that you please be respectful throughout the event, silence your cell phones, and hold applause until the very end. I now hand over the floor to our debaters and open it up to the great debate.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here tonight. We're going to begin with our first topic of the evening, which is campus carry. Our first question goes to the College Republicans. Why do students not have a right to carry guns on campus if they have concealed carry permits?
We believe that the reason that colleges have not allowed their students to have the right to conceal carry on campus, even when they do have a concealed carry permit, is firstly because of the lack of education surrounding guns and the violence that is supposedly because of guns. But we also think that if we add education to these colleges, if we educate these students on how to protect themselves, how to properly use a firearm, that allowing them to conceal carry on campus would actually cause a decrease in the amount of injuries and fatalities from school shootings that we have seen in the 21st century.
And the rebuttal will first come from the College Democrats. 1 minute to rebuttal.
All right, so the question is, why do we not have a right to carry guns on campus if we have concealed carry permits? So the answer to this is really simple. When you have a carry to conceal permit, that doesn't give you access to carry a gun wherever you want. There are lots of places where you can't carry a gun. That includes hospitals, government buildings, athletic events. And one of those places is a school campus. It's just in our laws that you're not allowed to have guns on those kinds of places because there are high volumes of people, and guns and high volumes of people don't mix very well.
And furthermore, we have a 2013 review from the FBI that says that since 2000, out of 160 active shooter incidents, only 7 of those were stopped by armed citizens, and only 1 of them had a concealed carry permit. And in several of these instances, the people that tried to intervene, the armed citizens, were either killed, injured, or shot someone they didn't intend to. So we are not sure that actually putting more guns on our campus would decrease fatalities.
And a second rebuttal from the Young Americans for Liberty.
Well, I think the main reason that we're not allowed to carry weapons is because the university is focused on public relations. They want to have as many students come as possible. They don't want to alienate people. But I think the fundamental thing is it's a publicly funded university, and it's an abridgment of your Second Amendment rights to not allow people to carry concealed weapons if they have a permit at publicly funded institutions.
And a 30-second rebuttal from the College Republicans.
Just to follow up on something that was said by the College Democrat, would you rather have a shooter inside a school setting that shoots, however many students a shooter is going to shoot, and have no one in there with a gun? Or would you rather have the chance that a student with a concealed carry could stop that shooter? And I think most people would logically have someone in that room to help protect the rest of the students. Not to say that there would be acceptable losses, but that would definitely decrease the losses taken by that classroom.
Thank you. Our next question will come from our moderator, Chip Brownlee. Chip?
This question is for the Young Americans for Liberty. Is it right for a publicly funded area like a public university like Auburn to declare that they are a gun-free zone? And does that abridge the Second Amendment?
To answer, yes, we do agree that it is against your fundamental right to not to be able to carry a gun on campus, especially if you have a concealed permit. The whole point of being able to go through the concealed permit process is to be able to make you a legitimate citizen that can carry a firearm, and to just totally block that process is just against your constitutional rights.
College Republicans?
I mean, I would agree with what they have to say. If it's a state-funded institution like a college campus, then frankly they don't have the right to tell students that they can't have a weapon on campus. As opposed to if it's a, say Walmart, if they want to have a gun-free zone, I mean, they can do that because they're a private institution. They get to establish what comes into their own, their own domain. Also, I think it's a pretty poor idea to say, wave a banner that says gun-free zone, just because that pretty much says that there's a lack of protection on that campus.
Okay. Democrats?
Okay, so I just wanted to make clear that we don't believe that providing a gun-free zone would abridge your Second Amendment rights. What the Second Amendment gives you the right to do is the right to own a gun. It doesn't give you the right to carry a gun wherever you please. So it's not abridging your Second Amendment rights. To answer the Republicans' questions on wouldn't you rather have someone in there to protect you, we don't think that someone who has a concealed carry permit would have the proper training to de-escalate and take care of an active shooter situation. Shooting at a couple of targets is not going to be enough. You're going to have thorough experience in that matter.
Yes, you have to be trained highly to have that to be in high intensity and high emotion situations such as these. And there's also, I'm sorry, I went over time. But basically there's other public places such as police stations, courthouses, and stadiums where guns are not allowed. So due to this reason, we see that the unique context of each place has to be taken into account before considering the balance with your Second Amendment rights. It does give you the right to have a gun, but the context is important on whether it should be allowed there or not.
Young Americans for Liberty, you have 30 seconds to have the final word on this question.
Having concealed weapons on campus is not a taboo thing as people want to think that it is. According to concealedcampus.org, there are already 150 campuses that have repealed their gun-free policies between the years of 1990 and 2012. And over those 20 years, there have been 1,500 semesters, spring and fall, and not a single result of violence or suicide attempt from that repeal of policy.
All right, thank you for your responses.
Can I comment on the College Democrats' definition of the Second Amendment and how it doesn't come
We're
into
going to
that?
have some more questions in this topic area, so.
All right, our next question goes to the College Democrats. You will have 2 minutes to respond. If the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun, how does the average person tell the difference between the two when they see someone with a firearm in their possession on campus?
Okay, well, we kind of disagree inherently with that question. We don't believe that only a good guy with a gun can stop a bad guy with a gun. Going back to our FBI report, they did an analysis of 160 active shooting incidents that occurred between the year 2000 and 2013. Out of those 160 shooting incidents, only one person stopped an active shooter that carried a permit, and he happened to be a Marine, someone who's extensively trained how to use a gun and how to take care of a situation like that. Total 7 armed citizens stopped an active shooter, but not all of them had permits. However, 21 people stopped the active shooter without a gun. So it's honestly not necessary to have a weapon in this kind of situation. What it's really going to do is it's just going to make things more difficult for the police to handle. When they go onto a scene, if they see a good guy with a gun, they're not going to know themselves whether or not he's the bad guy. How are they supposed to know in such a short amount of time?
And furthermore, we have a source from an individual who was on the SWAT team and was also a Marine, and this is more of a quantifiable sort of thing, but or qualitative, sorry about that. But he talks about how it's so much more than that they had to undergo monthly tactical training. 4 times a year they had to be recertified in their response mechanisms, and that it's a far cry from the 4 hours of training that are usually required just to have a gun on your hip. So we see that there's a difference between just having a gun on your hip for self-defense and responding to an active shooter situation. This is taking the job of specialized police and putting it into the hands of everyday citizens.
Young Americans for Liberty, a 1-minute rebuttal.
So allowing concealed weapons on campus does not all of a sudden make the process of getting a concealed weapons permit or of getting a gun in general any easier. Allowing college campus carrying would not change the rules about how to buy and who can and cannot have a gun under certain statutes under our state and under our federal government. And there's no sorts of irresponsibility from a student having a gun. It's still illegal to have a firearm under the influence of alcohol or drugs or anything like that. Nothing like that changes just because it goes from more of a public street to a college campus.
And college Republicans, your 1-minute rebuttal.
Yeah, I still have to go back to the fact that I would rather have a student with a weapon that would be able to stop a maleficent shooter in a classroom than rather have nobody at all. Frankly, I think that the Second Amendment was designed to take the power that some of our first responders have, to put it into the hand of the average citizen, because sometimes the average citizen is the first line of defense against a shooter. So, yeah, you can.
By no means are we saying that we want to take the job of the great men and women that wear a uniform around Auburn University, that we want to put that job in the hands of students. We're simply saying, why can't the students help? When that great man in the back, those 2 great men standing back there, when it takes them 30 seconds to get to something that a student could have gotten to in 10 seconds, that difference of 20 seconds is a big deal when there's an active shooter on campus. So why can't the students help?
Thank you. And college Democrats, a 30-second response.
Okay, basically what we're saying is that students that are not trained to handle an active shooter situation will not be able to de-escalate the situation. If I am in a classroom and someone who happens to have a concealed carry permit wants to stop the shooter, I don't know if he's going to be a good enough shooter to actually get the guy. What if another innocent student is shot by accident? Like, there's a lot of room for error when you're not used to doing a job like that daily. And another big thing is that when you allow concealed open carry on campus, you're giving a much bigger liability to the university as a whole. So the insurance costs are going to go way up, and it would increase our tuition over time. So overall, it's really not a great idea to have open carry on campus.
Thank you. The final question of our campus carry section is from Chip Brownlee. Chip?
Thanks, Evan. So many mass shootings occur on college campuses, from Umpqua Community College in Oregon to Virginia Tech in Virginia. Let's move away from students a little bit. Tell me, do you believe that professors and administrators should be trained and should be able to operate a gun on college campuses? Oh, I'm sorry, this question is for the college Republicans.
I don't think that a university can mandate that. However, I would think it's a fantastic idea. Now, I don't think that there should just be a gun sitting in a room like a fire extinguisher, because honestly, that might pose more of a threat to the classroom than not having one. But having a professor in the room that has their concealed carry is definitely going to protect the students, and it's going to offer another line of protection for the students. However, it'd be almost the same thing to have a concealed carrier in the classroom as a student. A concealed carry holder has to go through a series of classes in order to get that concealed carry. It's not just like they're walking into a classroom with a holster on their belt. I mean, there's legislation that restricts just anyone from having a gun on a campus. Would you like to say anything?
I agree that the university can't mandate that the professors have concealed carry permits or that they have weapons on them in a classroom. But if a professor has their concealed carry permit, if the university encourages that with professors, is that not then going to make the students feel a little safer in class, that the man or woman that's in charge of their education at that time is also caring enough to help protect them if something were to happen?
All right, thank you. Young Americans for Liberty, you have 1 minute.
I see we're talking a lot about the efficiency of whether or not a gun would be useful in a certain situation or in one person's hands over another, but I think it really is more fundamentally, is it right to tell someone that they are not allowed to exercise their Second Amendment rights in a publicly funded institution? I would say, piggybacking off of what they said, that if a professor wanted to exercise that right and go through the process of getting a permit, I don't see why the university would stop them, but I don't think the university should be funding or being involved with ensuring that professors do or do not learn how to operate a weapon in the classroom.
All right, and the Democrats have the last word here with 1 minute.
We agree that it should not be required for all professors to be able to go through this training. And first of all, it's because, as we've shown through our evidence with our SWAT individual, we show how important it is to have that extensive amount of training, and teachers simply don't have that. And they have not shown that the training would be that adequate. And also, even if they did go through all of this extensive training, this is well above their pay grade. That changes the nature of their job. And we even have 2 instances at UT Austin where the Dean of Architecture left and a potential Dean of College Communications did not take the job, citing specifically the campus carry law. So what we see is that it would be a different question to answer if college professors should be able to, but we do not think that the university should mandate that. First of all, because that financial burden is going to fall on the students as well. So that money could go into investing more into making active shooter training mandatory and more widespread.
Yeah, just looking at you're going to want to picture what a classroom would look like when a teacher is able to carry a gun. So if we were to implement that, the amount of training that the university would have to pay for would be immense, and to get them recertified every year would just be too much of a financial burden on the students. You also have to think about how it would affect how they teach in the classroom.
Thank you. We're going to move on right now from guns on college campuses to college affordability. Taylor has our next question.
Good evening. Our first question is for the College of Democrats, and it is government obligated to ensure easier access to higher education through government student loan programs?
They are not obligated, but we do believe it's more beneficial for the government to do so, because it will increase the income that is in their state, which is ultimately going to increase the tax revenue for the state, and also they have a more highly skilled workforce there that's going to contribute to the sectors and the type of businesses that will want to locate there.
Like I agree with Emily, like our government is not obligated to provide that money, but really it's an investment into your population. Studies have shown that like for every dollar put into the higher education system by our government, they get a return of $3. So this study also found that the initial cost would be repaid quickly of college. So by age 35, college graduates would have fully repaid their tuition. So basically, the value of a college degree has gone up immensely, and our government wants to invest in our population by providing that money. It's not an obligation.
I want to point out that study was California specific, but it does point to the dire importance and the direct correlation between investing in your people and the outcome that has for your state. There are great benefits on that. The return on investment is a 3-time return on that. So it's kind of undeniable to say that we should not be investing in these people, especially when their median annual workings will increase by $17,000, just the difference between having a diploma and a college degree. So that's great for the quality of life for each individual, as well as the overall culture of a state.
Thank you. Young American for Liberty, you have 1 minute to rebuttal.
So no, the government is not obligated to provide student loan access, as they were saying. I don't think that would be a beneficial thing. part of the reason why college is so expensive is because of the increase of demand we've seen over the last 2 decades. I think if the government is involved, that would definitely make that issue worse.
Thank you. College of Republicans?
Yeah, so one thing I noticed is that using basic economics, you can see that scarcity adds value to something, and if you're just throwing degrees out into the workforce, that's not going to produce more jobs. That's just going to make all the other jobs more competitive, which, I mean, in the end, that might help. However, you have a lot of money that's going to waste. You know, there are statistics that I can't cite right now, but there are statistics that say that the average modern college student has a harder time getting a job immediately after college than a college student did 25 years ago, because college degrees were more rare back 25 years ago. So studies from Ohio State University nationally have concluded that there's no actual link between higher education subsidies and economic growth. So you just see wasted subsidies and people with degrees not necessarily joining the workforce.
College of Democrats, you have 30 seconds.
Okay, so the Republicans are saying that that the value of our degree has gone down because we're basically giving them out. That's such a flawed way of thinking, because in our society, a college degree has almost become a prerequisite to being able to get a good paying job. So basically, what the Democrats believe is that we should be providing this opportunity to everyone, regardless of what your family's income was when you were born. So if anything, we should be providing education to a higher percent of our population than by not giving out as many bachelor's degrees, because they think the value of the degree would go down.
Thank you. Our next question goes to the College of Republicans. Is affirmative action fair? You have 2 minutes.
Would you like to start? Affirmative action is in no way, shape, or form fair. As a matter of fact, I would argue that it's racist, because it is allowing certain students to get a college degree over other students simply because of their race or their skin color. And that's not fair at all. Frankly, I think that no matter anyone's gender, no matter anyone's skin color, they should be able to compete for that degree. It shouldn't matter their background, it shouldn't matter their race. All it shouldn't matter is how much work they're willing to put into that degree. And that's how you're going to see a healthier workforce.
I agree with that, and in today's society, with all the political issues that we have going on right now, for instance, the Black Lives Matter protest, my question is, why don't all lives matter, and why does any skin color of any kind get any kind of special help to go to college and get this education that other skin colors, other races don't? Whether it be a minority or a majority, shouldn't we all have the same equal opportunity in America? Isn't that what America was all about, was giving everybody with different starting points the same opportunity to be just as successful in the end?
Thank you. College of Democrats, you have 1 minute to rebuttal.
Okay, I think the Republicans, said our stance best when they said that there should be an equal opportunity despite how you're born. And the difference here we're saying is that when you don't have affirmative action in place, you're ignoring the historical disadvantages that have put certain groups of people with less of access. And we agree that how hard you work should reflect, or it should translate into the opportunities that you have. And when you are working that hard, but then you have all of these things that are in our society that are rigged against you, that are institutional, whether it be housing opportunities, educational opportunities, job discrimination, we see that we have to make up for that. And in response to their All Lives Matter, it's not that we're favoring one over the other, but I have an example. At a breast cancer rally, there aren't people yelling there, standing there yelling, saying, well, prostate cancer matters more. Both matter, but you have to address the issues that affect certain groups of people.
Just to comment on that, not everyone in America is born on third base. Like they said, people start out with different starting points in their lives. So someone who's born into a poor education system end up being stuck in a vicious cycle of poverty because they can't get education to get out of it, but at the same time, they're stuck like where they are because of the bad education system. So this just gives a vicious cycle, and one of the only things that would help them out of it is affirmative action.
Thank you. Young Americans for Liberty, you have 1 minute as well.
Well, affirmative action is not fair because you're not basing the decision-making off of the merits of the individual applying, be it for a job or for school or something. I think it's a strange thing to assume that the opportunity to achieve these things would not be there without affirmative action, because I don't see why affirmative action allows more opportunity for minorities than not having it. I think if companies want to operate using affirmative action, there should be no problem, but I don't support any kind of law or mandate saying that a company should have to hire this certain percentage of a certain minority simply because they want to look well.
Thank you. College of Republicans?
Yeah, I think that modern day culture is so tightly bound poverty in certain minorities, which again, I think is pretty racist. But not all white people have white privilege because they were rich during the 1800s. One time I asked my grandfather, I said, Granddad, did we have slaves? And he abruptly responded, son, we were so poor we probably were slaves. And I think that so vividly describes that not all white Americans are more privileged than any other minority. I mean,
Skin color has absolutely nothing to do with where you started and the opportunity that you have.
Thank you. Our next question comes from Evan.
Thank you, Taylor. And I would like to direct all debaters to please do your best to speak into the mics. We need to make sure all these fine people out here can hear what you have to say. Our next question goes to the Young Americans for Liberty. What do you believe is the main contribution to the rapid increase of tuition rates at American universities, and what is the best way to make college more affordable? 2 minutes.
Okay, so the main reason why college has risen so much in relativity to the inflation rate over the last 20 years, 30 years or so, is because of the expansion of the federal loan programs and the aid provided. When you increase the amount of money that people can take out as a loan, they're going to naturally take out more money and go to college. When you increase this demand, you're going to increase the price. The Ryan McCann from the Mises Institute put it the best way I can think of. He says the inelasticity of demand for a college education has increased significantly because students can get a low-interest unsecured loan rather than having to save money for a high-interest loan. And that kind of goes into, you say the value of a college education has gone up, but not all college educations are created equal. So people are not using discretion as they would in a free market system where loans would have to be taken out through a private sector avenue.
And building off of that, it's just showing that how the federal government has kind of not thought through the whole student loan process, and just them saying that the private sector has failed. And when I know numerous amount of students who've gotten their scholarships and stuff from private institutions, it just shows that there is such a thing as private charity, and government cutting into private charity directly with student loans is causing a big increase in tuition.
Thank you. And now a 1-minute rebuttal from the College Republicans.
yeah, so what we're seeing here is college is becoming more competitive due to the fact that more people are going out for college educations and getting degrees as a result of the fact that we can so easily get financial aid of all different sorts. And frankly, that's probably going to lead to the next market bubble to burst, similar to the housing market in 2008, because you see this amount of loans being taken out, and there's a less amount of people getting jobs coming out of college, and you're going to start to see people not being able to pay back any loans because they simply don't have a quality job, because they decided to pursue a degree that frankly they're not very competitive in. And so, yeah, competition does raise the price on different things, and that's why you're seeing the price raising in universities.
Thank you. And now a 1-minute rebuttal from the College Democrats.
Okay, so essentially is not to harp on what they've been saying too much, but the value of a degree has increased due to increased demand. But rather, the bigger factor at play here is post-2009 recession. State budgets and their funding to higher education has decreased. And it's just simple logic. If the budget that the university is getting from the state is no longer there, then they're going to have to make up that difference somewhere, and it's going to come from the students. So you see a direct correlation between a decrease in funding to higher education and the exact amount that the tuition will go up. So due to cutbacks in state budgets, we have seen that this is one of the biggest factors that contributes to tuition increase, and also reckless spending by universities. So we would like to help solve that by having oversight on how they spend their money.
Okay, it's also really simple, like about the increase of a value of a degree. The supply has remained constant, but the demand in our workforce has gone up for a college degree. That's a direct explanation of why the cost has increased. But the way we make college more affordable for everybody is, like Emily said, is allow more funding into our state and federal education budgets. Because the only way we can do that is by do things like closing tax loopholes.
Thank you.
And what we want to do is enable more grants and aid to be distributed among lower and middle income students to make college much more affordable.
And now a 30-second response from the Young Americans for Liberty.
Well, I'd have to say it's that exact process that makes college unaffordable. When you dole out loans to anyone that can get them, and you don't make sure that they have collateral or money to pay the loan back, of course everyone is going to take out a loan. That increase in demand that you're talking about comes from the government loan programs. And there's a reason the supply is not increasing to meet that demand. If it were, the price would stay somewhere around the same, but the price is just going up drastically because there are not enough teachers and there are not enough people interested in the field to meet the demand the government is creating.
Thank you. And now for our final question of the college affordability segment, I'm going to throw it over to Chip. Take it away.
All right. So let's bring this home a little bit. From 2008 to 2015, Auburn's public funding, public appropriations from the legislature, dropped nearly 27%. Over that same time period, tuition increased 28%. It's a near equal rate there. Does state funding for higher education matter? And should states play a greater role in reducing the cost of college education? Let's start with the college Republicans.
I think that if we look at that statistic, obviously the state funding matters. And we're not saying that the state shouldn't fund these colleges or these institutions at all. We're simply saying that they don't need to be throwing ridiculous amounts of money into it when we're already $20 trillion in debt federally. And the issue here is that me getting a college education, Brandon Belser getting a college education is up to Brandon Belser to take care of, not the United States of America. Me bettering myself and furthering my education is up to me, and then turning back and giving into the economy and being a positive impact for the economy and for the nation. That's up to me. That's not up to Barack Obama, Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, anybody that's in office. That's strictly up to me, myself, and I, just like it's up to everybody else in this room that has gotten or has not gotten a degree. That's up to us to make that choice for ourselves.
All right. Let's go to the college Democrats for now for 1 minute.
Okay. We do believe that states should play a greater role in reducing college tuition and I'll go back on my last answer, because of the direct role that the budgeting of the states has in the cost of tuition. And when the states don't play a role, that increase in tuition only falls unfairly onto students. So then you have students paying a higher price for the same quality of education and likely running into more debt in the long term. So due to this, I think that an investment in universities is an investment in the wealth of our nation and our states.
All right. And the Young Americans for Liberty, you have the last word on this with 1 minute.
Okay, so when you are giving people all of these loans, it does not necessarily make college more affordable. It makes it more accessible. A lot of that money goes not into providing a better quality education at the same price, but it goes into price increases. It goes into building recreational centers. It goes into building new buildings, anything that can attract new students, because they've been guaranteed this new income of students from the government. So that is going to go into the price increase, and it's not going to relate in making any college more affordable whatsoever.
All right, and that was our last question on college affordability. I'm going to throw it over to Taylor for our first question on campus violence and sexual assault.
Our first question under campus violence and sexual assault goes to the Young Americans for Liberty. Is it possible for policy to affect morality? You have 2 minutes to respond.
So, is it possible for policy to affect morality? We, as individuals, say no. We say no because policy is not in place to decide whether actions are right or wrong, but to decide whether there should be a punishment for such actions. We know that the action wrong beforehand. We knew the action was wrong beforehand. What we're discussing is there should be an acceptable punishment for such action. And so the policy is determining the severity of the punishment, or it should be a punishment for the action to begin with. So no, it does not affect morality. Our morality affects policy. Policy does not affect our morality.
Thank you. College of Democrats, you have 1 minute rebuttal.
Okay, so the way that we think that law can affect morality is that it creates the context in which people are going to act. So, for example, when economic conditions are bad, people are going to be more likely to justify stealing or hurting other people for their resources as moral. But when economic conditions are good, then they're probably less likely to deem that as moral. So we see that beings as themselves are not totally, autonomous from the factors of the world, and that context plays a huge role. So we do also agree that, we can promote our vision of morality through our laws, but also that our laws are going to affect our behavior and the overall structure of our society, and that we can kind of create and put in the context that we want to get the morality that we want, if that makes sense.
Okay, so in addition to that, it really even shouldn't matter whether policy affects morality. What really matters is that we, as a university or as a state, should have laws and policies in place to prevent sexual assault. So yeah, that's everything. Like the number one thing you should be focusing is not morality, but to prevent these atrocities from happening.
Thank you. College of Republicans, you have 1 minute as well.
So, no matter how many laws you throw on a group of people, you're never going to be able to dictate that person's morality. It all comes down to that person's subjective values. So no amount of legislation is going to affect what someone does. I mean, of course, it can provide an incentive not to do something, but rape is already illegal, sexual assault is already illegal, and you still have a lot of people doing it. It's a societal issue. It's not something you can just deal with using legislation.
Thank you. Young Americans for Liberty, you have 30 seconds to respond.
Yeah, like what he was just saying, a lot of crimes like rape, theft, murder, drunk driving, these things are illegal, and we've determined punishments for people that break these laws, and all over the world people break them every day. They know they're illegal, and they know they're not supposed to do it, and they know what's going to happen to them if they get caught, and they don't really care. So I would say finally that no policy, no law that you can implement will affect people's actions. You just have to decide what is an appropriate punishment for an action you've determined to be a crime.
Thank you. And for our second question under this topic, I'm going to throw it over to Chip.
All right, College Democrats, you have 2 minutes to respond to this question. Should Greek organizations on university campuses be doing more? Should they be more responsible in combating sexual assault and rape culture that's closely affiliated with them?
We believe that they do because, first of all, whether the reality actually is that sexual assault happens more frequently in these organizations, there's definitely a societal kind of association between the two. So there's only net good for these organizations to take action, because even if it is happening at high rates or not happening at high rates, they are doing something to prevent or stop sexual assault from happening. Furthermore, complacency is one of the biggest things that has been fueling sexual assault and rape culture. So by not doing anything, and I agree that all organizations should be doing something, but due to the presence of alcohol, and that is identified by Rutgers University as one of the leading factors that leads to sexual assault. So due to these factors that are around Greek organizations and the association that people put on them, whether it's true or not, they should do something to stop and prevent sexual assault before it happens. And this could be something such as raising money for people to be enrolled in our rape aggression defense class, or it could be something as simple as promoting Green Dot, making that mandatory, putting that out for greater access for people to acknowledge bystanders and educate them to interact. So I do believe that Greek organizations should be doing more, and it would not be difficult for them to do more.
The key things we have to look at what causes sexual assault to happen is basically the culture. So like Emily said, Rutgers University identified a few key factors of what causes sexual assault. One of those was use of alcohol and drugs, and the other is a sense of complacency within a group of people. So if you look at those two key factors and apply it to how our Greek organizations are living daily, like what are their actual values and morals? Well, they're involved in drinking and things like that. So it's created a culture within their group that's condoning sexual assault. So we really think that additional steps need to be taken in place by the Greek organizations to further combat what's been going on in their organizations.
All right, college Republicans, you have 1 minute to review.
Here's the issue with this question is we're pointing the finger at the Greek organizations. This is a societal issue. Rape and sexual assault do not strictly happen in Greek organizations on college campuses. They happen around the world everywhere. Okay, so let's stop pointing pointing a finger at fraternities and let's start pointing the finger at society and say, let's fix this societal issue. Let's all get together to make a difference instead of expecting the fraternities and sororities to add to their philanthropies that they already donate hundreds of millions of dollars to each year.
So the only reason that you see more sexual assaults happening at a Greek organization are because the Greek organizations are the ones throwing the big parties. Whenever you throw a bunch of hot-headed, practically teenagers into a big group with pupils of the opposite sex, and throwing alcohol into the mix as well, you're gonna see various kinds of sexual assaults, and I can't condone that. But once again, it's a societal thing, and you're not going to see a bunch of people going around condoning sexual assault. It happens because they're intoxicated, and you can't just point the finger at Greek organizations.
Right.
You got to point the finger at any form of party that goes on.
Thank you.
It's just a result of a party.
We're going to move on to the Young Americans for Liberty for 1 minute.
Okay, so the question being whether or not they should do something. I think if a specific Greek organization feels that they have an unwanted stigma regarding the issue of sexual assault and their organization, that they should probably do something, but it would have to be up to that organization. Part of the reason why you said sexual assault happens because of the culture, and it is because of a culture, it's because of a power culture. We're sitting here debating about whether or not we should, what we think a fraternity should or should not do. Assuming that if you change some policy, you would be willing to use force and violence to make them do something, such as make them attend a class, such as make them implement part of their funding into some program that is for preventing sexual assault. When you force people to do something, you're not necessarily just as immoral as someone who is a sexual assaulter, but you're fighting fire with fire, and I don't think you should force an organization to do something against their will.
All right, thank you. College Democrats, you have 30 seconds.
Okay, so we agree with the Republicans that it's a societal issue that we have to fix. We completely agree with them. But as pertaining to Auburn, we need to get the fraternities and sororities to understand that sexual consent cannot be given under the influence of alcohol or drugs. That's our main issue. So we just want things to be done to allow them to understand this.
And also, I just want to clarify that we're not pointing fingers at Greek organizations. We agree that this is a cultural and societal issue. It doesn't only happen in this context, but just as my opponents have pointed out that they are the groups that are throwing the largest parties, where the highest concentration of alcohol typically is, and these have been shown to be factors. So this is why we were not pointing fingers at them, but rather pointing out a societal construct of that.
Thank you. All right, we're going to go over to Evan for the next question.
Thank you, Chip. Our question goes to the college Republicans first, sort of piggybacking off of that last question. Does modern college culture promote rape? You have 2 minutes to respond.
I'd say that obviously no modern college culture does not promote rape. And like against what the Democrats said a second ago, they wanted to say that Greek organizations are condoning a rape culture, if you will. But as a junior in college and my third year active in a Greek organization, at no point between the 300 brothers of mine and probably somewhere in the range of 3,000 to 4,000 Greek members of both sexes from other chapters and other schools that I've met, I don't think that I have ever met one person that ever condoned any kind of rape or sexual assault in any way at all.
Yeah, to follow up on that, it's going to be difficult to find someone where you ask them, is rape okay? And they're going to say, yeah. that's kind of messed up, and I think society as a whole has recognized that. That's why I don't believe in this rape culture, because there's no culture, at least in the U.S., that promotes any form of rape. So blaming a few isolated incidents on a culture as a whole is it's a bad idea. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Yep.
All right, and a 1-minute rebuttal first from the Young Americans for Liberty.
Okay, so does college culture promote rape or sexual assault? First, I would have to say we use the term culture a lot. The culture is a manifestation or an intellectual achievement regarded by a group collectively. So I think when we talk about culture, you're basically saying a majority of the people in whatever population think that whatever you're discussing is acceptable. And I would have to say, therefore, that college campuses do not promote as to say that it is acceptable, that this kind of behavior is acceptable. Auburn University does a lot through Camp War Eagle programs for students, that they make them attend seminars on sexual assault, on drug use, on binge drinking, all of these things. So I don't think that the campus is promoting sexual assault at all.
And a 1-minute rebuttal from the College Democrats.
Okay, so we don't think that, it necessarily promotes rape, but it might be complacent in letting it happen. I want to respond to their comment that it's an isolated incident that's causing all of this, and I just want to paint a picture that the average, and it can be as high as 1.9 million, and the estimates can be as low as 90,000 due to instances of people not reporting, but there were more victims of sexual assault last year alone than people killed in car accidents since 2000, and that's 627,000 individuals. And we also see that there's a threefold increase of the chance that a college-aged woman, 18 to 24, that is in college, will be sexually assaulted during her time at college. So furthermore, what we think is that there's a hookup culture that is obviously on college campuses, and when you have sex education without teaching about affirmative consent, which is greatly lacking in Alabama education, that it's letting this to keep happening, and it doesn't treat college. So, sorry. And we don't want to conflate this idea to continue progress with sexual assault as wanting to throw all potential defendants under the bus. We value due process. And we just want to see that more is being done on the campus to prevent it and to stop victim blaming and stop the normalization of this happening and joking about it.
To make it clear, we do think Auburn University is doing a great job at preventing sexual assault, because our numbers are so low compared to other universities. So the programs we have in place, like Green right now, have clearly been sufficient.
And a 30-second response from the College Republicans.
I mean, once again, status quo already has put that we have affirmative consent education. And if that doesn't change any of the statistics, there's not much more that the college itself can do. But I mean, once again, you're not going to find many people that condone sexual assault.
And we have these these education programs at colleges already. In my 3 years of college, I've been to at least 6 different educational programs, or whatever you want to call them, about consensual sex and the rest of the issue.
And for the final question of the night from us, the moderators, I will send it over to Taylor. Take it away.
Okay, we're going to kind of flip the tables here a little bit to sports. An increasing amount in the last couple of years across all sports, professional and collegiate, there has been an increasing number of domestic violence cases. What kind of impact does this give to citizens that hold sports figures in high regards? College Republicans, you have a 1-minute response.
I mean, frankly, the question holds a lot of weight. You see a lot of very popular icons, both in sports and other aspects of pop culture, rappers, that seem to condone some, various aspects of sexual assault and glorifying it almost. And that simply comes from, a psychological tough guy kind of construct that occurs. And, it's not much of a policy issue because you can't really pass any policies to fix that. But it by far and away does not represent or reflect the consensus among the culture as a whole.
All right, thank you. College Democrats, you have 1 minute as well.
Okay, well, I mean, clearly we think anyone that's in the public spotlight that is acting in such an awful way, that's not a good thing. That's very disheartening. And we do think that especially for younger people that might be looking up to them, that can be problematic in how they're perceiving that. But we also believe that it's also the organization. So a lot of these instances happen within the NFL. So whatever organization, considering it is a sports figure, is responsible to hold that person accountable, to support the victim, but also support the due process of the defendant, and should be taking accountability for what's been happening.
Thank you. Young Americans for Liberty, you have 1 minute as well.
Well, I feel like there are two kinds of people in that instance, the person on the field and the person off the field. And it's up to whoever is admiring that person to know that what that person is like on and off the field. If they can be a great at whatever sport they play all they want, but if they're an immoral person off the field, we should be able to realize that and know for ourselves that that culture, that whatever they're promoting is wrong to begin with.
Thank you.
And now that is it for us, the moderators, but we're going to get a couple of audience questions, and here to explain what's going to go on there is Charles C. Nicorelli.
Hi. Is this on? Okay, cool. So we're going to open up the floor to audience questions now. Basically, we are going to choose 3 of you at random. If you have a question, please raise your hand, and we're going to have someone select 3 of you. You will have the opportunity to come up on stage and direct your question towards one of our political groups, and that group will then get 1 minute to answer your question. And for all of you tuning in via live stream, we're going to take a commercial break while we do just that, so keep it right here on Eagle Eye TV, Channel 6. How to fill out an Alabama voter registration form with Aubie. First, check the 2 boxes if you are at least 18 years and a U.S. citizen. Write out your full name. Make sure it matches the name on your government-issued photo ID. Come on up. Write out your former name if you are updating your information. Write out your Alabama driver's license number or U.S. Social Security number in the boxes to the right. List your date of birth, phone number, and email address. Write out your addresses, including where you live and where you get your mail, but don't list P.O. boxes. I know there's something you're dying to ask. Check the box next to your gender and race. All right, thank you. List your place of birth, including city, county, state, and nation. Be sure to sign and date the Alabama Voter Declaration. Turn over the card and write the address of your county's Board of Registrars. Mail in the application, and you should receive a voter card with your polling information. You can also go to www.alabamavotes.gov and find your polling location. For more information about SGA's voter registration initiative, go to auburn.edu/SGA, where you can find information about registering in other states, information about absentee ballots, and links to the candidates' platforms.
I hope that you've been able to learn a strong work ethic surrounded by character, integrity, perseverance, so that when your 1 second comes, you'll be prepared for it.
Chris Davis.
45, there goes Davis! Your 1 second, our 1 second is now. And our lives have been guided by the principles of one of the greatest academic institutions in the country, Auburn University.
This is a place where it only takes a second to imagine your future. Grasp a new concept in class. Inspire a child's curiosity. Discover a real-world solution. Seize an unexpected opportunity.
There goes Davis!
This is where you gain the preparation, confidence, and determination to succeed. This is Auburn.
All right, welcome back to The Great Debate. I'm Charles C. Nicorelli, your host for the evening, and we are here with 3 audience members to direct their questions towards our debaters. So if you will state for me your name, your college, and then ask your question to your respective group.
Yes, I'm Austin Thompson, and I am a economics major for the College of Liberal Arts here at Auburn, and I have a question mainly for the Republicans. Do you think that your presidential candidate has acted and behaved and carried himself in a way that reflects your values, what you stand for, and a manner that you stand by fully?
You now have 1 minute to respond.
Would you like to? Keep it 30 seconds. I think that Donald Trump has made some mistakes throughout his life about things that he said and the way that he's acted, but I definitely agree with and respect the fact that he has stood up admitted to and done what he could to reconcile his mistakes and make them right in the best way that he possibly could, whether they were true or not. And he took into consideration the facts of each case and what he had done wrong to make that right.
I can't condone everything I can't condone any actions off camera of Donald Trump. But I think, when it comes to presidency, you got to look at the policies. They got to have a good moral standing, and I think Donald Trump does, aside from a couple different mistakes. And yeah, I can stand by him. I don't think the college Democrats would be able to stand by everything that Clintons have done anyways. So all of the candidates have certain flaws.
All right, thank you. Next question. If you will say for me again your name and then the college you're from and then your question towards your directed group.
My name is Ariana Parsons, and I am in the College of Agriculture. I'm an agricultural economics major. My question is for the college Democrats. If an investment in education is an investment in the state, shouldn't we encourage individuals to give to higher education through private charity rather than increasing government spending in a state that can't balance its current spending budget?
Well, I think that would be a good way to supplement, but the unique thing of what state budgets do is they're consistent, or they should be, and they should be each year something that they rely on. So I do think that private charities could play a role in supplementing, but I think that as much funding as we could get for such a precious social resource is important.
Yes, I agree. Basically, our government should be investing in our people. So a privatized way to do it would be fine if it would work, but what we have to look at is, will it work?
And I also I would at least personally be wary of opening up something such as public universities to kind of the volatile nature of a free market at times. Not always that way, but it can be.
So do you have an opinion on alumni donations for scholarships? Because that's basically what that is a free market version of funding higher education.
I mean, again, I think it should supplement public funding.
We want more money total in our education system. So whether it comes from private or public doesn't matter completely, but we have privatized ways of doing this hasn't been shown to work so far. So if we can get a conjunction of both private and public funding to our education system, yeah, why not?
Thank you very much. And our last question.
My name is Drew Smithwick. I'm in the College of Liberal Arts. I'm a political science major. And my question's for all three of you as organizations. Can I do that? Not really. Okay. So my question for some of you is, there's been a lot of anecdotal experiences shared up here this evening. What can you say to using facts and figures to back up your individual party's claims?
I mean, that's a pretty big question to back up every claim that our party has made. But I do think, at least for our topics here tonight, me and my partner have incorporated evidence and empirics that are on the macro level, the micro level. So we have, provided some anecdotal evidence, but I believe that we provided the figures in order to support our opinions and the positions that we've taken here tonight. I mean,
we don't have a party. We're nonpartisan. So
yeah, we're nonpartisan, but
yeah.
But I guess our libertarian ideals are backed up by its core principles of Austrian economics and what it means for the individual to be just supportive of themselves and to support others. And that's just basically what our core belief is, just the basis of the individual being able to support not only themselves, but through private charity and things like that with other people.
We've got a lot of evidence and we've got a lot of facts and figures to back everything up. But what it comes down to is logic and reason. I mean, that's kind of a correlation with the facts and figures.
I'd have to agree completely with what he's saying. We may not have thrown all of our statistics and all of our facts and numbers out for the debate, but that's because the logic proves before the science proves. The statistics come in and help, yes, sure, but the math comes in after the logic comes in and proves all of our points already.
Thank y'all.
All right, and that is going to conclude our debate. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. We want you to make sure you are prepared for the election on November 8th, so make sure you know your polling place. If you are out of state, make sure that you know how to fill out your absentee ballots. And to do that, you can head over to alabamavotes.gov or auburn.edu/SGA. And for all of you watching via live stream, stay tuned after this for the post-debate show. You're watching Eagle Eye TV Channel 6, and I am Charles Crowley, your host for the evening. Have a good evening, Auburn.
Gosh, Darlene, it sure is amazing how much we have in common.
I know, Larry. We both love three-car pileups. We both were built in Buffalo.
And we both know wearing safety belts helps save thousands of lives.
Yeah, this is fascinating.
Don't mind Vince. He's getting over a bad breakup.
I know. Janet's picking up the pieces, too. They're in here.
I wish they understood it's all worth it to get people to buckle up.
Hey, lacerated lovebirds, I sense a major crush.
You could learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle your safety belt.
Talk about head over heels.
Auburn Guides is your guide to Auburn University. You can access schedules, create your own to-do lists, interact with friends, and always get the most up-to-date information. The Auburn Guides app gives access to information on the go so you never miss out. Auburn Guides is available for free on the Play Store and Apple App Store.
So, I just moved in with this family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that. That's disgusting. Oh, poop already. You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
The 2016 elections are right around the corner, and registering to vote is easier than ever. SGA is dedicated to encouraging students to exercise their right to be politically active and maintaining a positive campus political environment.
We are asking all Auburn students who are over the age of 18 and who are citizens to register to vote. As students about to graduate from college, it is imperative that we take action today to ensure a bright future for our country. And the best way to do that is by voting.
Auburn SGA has launched our Voters Registration Initiative, a project aimed at encouraging students to become politically educated and engaged. Our goal is to register over 1,000 students, and we can't do it without you.
We are partnering with campus organizations in a nonpartisan effort to register as many students as we can by October 24th. Throughout this month-long process, we'll be hosting registration drives where you'll be able to register and we can answer any questions that you may have about the voting process.
To learn more, log on to auburn.edu/SGA to find more information about upcoming registration events, state-by-state guidelines on how to register, absentee ballot information, and more. And on November 8th, exercise your right and vote.
AU votes.
AU votes.
AU votes.
AU votes.
AU votes.
How to fill out an Alabama voter registration form with Aubie. First, check the two boxes if you are at least 18 years and a U.S. citizen. Write out your full name, make sure it matches the name on your government-issued photo ID. Write out your former name if you are updating your information. Write out your Alabama driver's license number or U.S. Social Security number in the boxes to the right. List your date of birth, phone number, and email address. Write out your addresses, including where you live and where you get your mail, but don't list P.O. boxes. Check the box next to your gender and race. List your place of birth, including city, county, state, and nation. Be sure to sign and date the Alabama Voter Declaration. Turn over the card and write the address of your county's Board of Registrars.
Mail in the application and you should receive a voter card with your polling information. You can also go to www.alabamavotes.gov and find your polling location. For more information about SGA's voter registration initiative, go to auburn.edu/SGA, where you can find information about registering in other states, information about absentee ballots, and links to the candidates' platforms.
Welcome to Eagle Eye TV's Eye on the White House post-debate show. I'm Michaela Bostic. Tonight we heard 3 political organizations on Auburn's campus debate hot topics. Tweet us at Eagle Eye TV your thoughts on tonight's debate using the hashtag AUDebate. Tonight during our post-show, Eagle Eye reporters will be talking to the debaters from the political organizations. First, let's throw it to Matt Stanley with College of Democrats.
Thanks, Michaela. I'm here tonight with Nima and Emily. I would like to ask you, is there anything you wish you could have done better tonight?
I do wish that I could have calmed my nerves a little better at points and been able to articulate my thoughts that I was saying and just slow down the rate at which I was thinking, because I had so many thoughts going over each other and trying to keep up with which one I wanted to articulate in a slow rate. I think I could have done better with that.
Well, I think you guys did fantastic, but is there any point that you guys think you had a strong point tonight?
I think our strongest point tonight was our argument on open carry on campus. I think we showed with our data that having guns on our, in our classrooms is not going to be a great idea. Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, a question to both of you: did you enjoy tonight's debate, and can we expect you back next year for the next debate?
I loved it. I will be back next year. And a fun fact about us, I guess, is we went to high school together and we're on the debate team together, and our high school debate coach is here tonight. So I really loved being here, so I'll be back.
Well, I'm sure he or she would be proud that you two were up there tonight. Back to you, Michaela.
Next, we have Jonathan Thomas with the Young Americans for Liberty.
All right, thank you, Michaela. I'm here with Daniel Bond and Shane Beckham with Young Americans for Liberty. They did just recently complete the debate. So, gentlemen, overall thoughts, how do you think your performance went tonight?
I think we did absolutely great. I feel like we touched upon all the points in the way we wanted to, and I feel like we represented our organization the way they want to be represented, and that's what matters.
Now, you did cover a variety of topics, including student debt and campus violence. What area do you think was your strongest suit?
I would definitely have to say the tuition cost and the economics involving that is our strong point. It's something I study in my free time for fun, so yeah, I definitely have more experience with that than other topics we did tonight, but I think we covered everything pretty well. I feel pretty confident about everything. Yeah.
All right, so last question. There is only 13 more days left until the presidential election. So what do you, in your opinion, believe that the candidates need to do to sway undecided voters?
Well, it seems more like candidates these days are not swaying voters to vote for them, they're swaying voters to vote against them. And they just need to keep doing what they're doing to make the crowd, the general population, angry at the choices they have. And I feel like after that, they'll go to a third choice, that there are third-party options out there. And I think that pretty much sums it up.
Again, I would just want to thank y'all on behalf of Eagle Eye TV for attending the debate and for your stellar performance. Okay, Michaela, back to you.
We're now going to throw it to William Scott with College of Republicans.
Representatives from this evening. So just got to ask you guys, where do you guys think you did best this evening?
I think y'all are good.
I think one of the things that we did best in was supporting our candidate and our party, and whenever the other teams had something negative to say about our beliefs and our conservative beliefs as a party and as individuals, I felt like we did a pretty good job of defending our beliefs without getting defensive or aggressive towards the other opponents.
All right. Anything after that?
I think everything that we put out there was purely based on logic and reason, and I think, like, if you really look at it from a logical standpoint, we, without a doubt, held out pretty well.
All right, good to hear, good to hear. Is there anywhere you guys feel you could have done better this evening?
We could have presented a lot more evidence to back our claims. I mean, we have it Unfortunately, we didn't know that we weren't allowed to use electronic devices, so we had to try to copy stuff as fast as we can in a half hour on this notebook. So, you know, it worked out though.
All right, and my last question for you guys this evening is: no matter who's elected, no matter where this country is going in, whatever direction, how would you guys like to see the university come together on all these topics you guys discussed tonight? I know there's a lot of division, but how would you guys like to see everyone unify?
I think you have to unify the university and the state and the country with education. Let everybody know the facts about the issues that are here. Stop giving the Democratic view of it, or the Republican view of it, or the Libertarian view of it. Give the facts of it and unite people with the true factual evidence and education that we have behind all of these issues.
All right. Thank you guys so much. Excellent answer. We're going to take it back to Michaela. All right. Thank you so much.
Now we're going to throw it back to Matt Stanley, who is standing by with a special guest.
Thanks, Michaela. I'm here with Calvin. He is the president of the Alabama College Democrats. Now, Calvin, what did you think of the debate tonight?
I definitely thought it was interesting. It was great to see the students talk on issues and not candidates. So it was great to hear them, discuss the varying issues that's really, on the forefront of a lot of college students' minds as we enter the general election.
Now, as president of the College Democrats for the state of Alabama, how do you think that, was it Neiman and Emily? Is that correct? How do you think they represented the College Democrats tonight?
I think they represented us very well. They based their arguments off of facts and statistics and, really referenced scholastic resources throughout the debate. So I'm definitely proud of, the presentation they did tonight. Definitely backing up their arguments with stats and figures. I feel like that's so important when debating key issues such as this.
I agree. And with the election only 13 days away, are the College Democrats taking any steps to get prepared for the upcoming election?
Yes, actually, we have a lot of things going on right now. Just this weekend, over 50 college Democrats from 7 universities across Alabama will be going to Florida to knock on doors for Hillary Clinton in the key swing state. We know it's in, within the 1% margin there in Florida. So we're going to try to make sure we do everything we can to make sure she wins.
Well, fantastic. Thank you, Calvin. Back to you, Michaela.
Thank you for watching tonight's special edition of Eye on the White House. Log on to alabamavotes.gov, find your polling place, know the issues, and make sure you get to the polls on November 8th. We'll see you back here on election night with more coverage from Eye on the White House. Good night and War Eagle.
Gosh, Darlene, it sure is amazing how much we have in common.
I know, Larry. We both love 3-car pileups. We both were built in Buffalo.
And we both know wearing safety belts helps save thousands of lives.
Yeah, this is fascinating.
Don't mind Vince. He's getting over a bad breakup.
I know. Janet's picking up the